Welcome to the North Idaho Experience. In today's episode, Eric and I sit down with Heather Scott. She's an Idaho State representative living up here in North Idaho. Heather has helped form a task force that specifically focuses on the judicial side of family law. They're doing very important things for North Idaho and Idaho in general. We also talked a lot about politics here in Idaho, of course, being a state rep, and how that whole process works. So it was a very informative and entertaining episode. I hope you guys get a lot from it. And I feel the need to say this. We are not politically or endorsing any political candidates on this platform. We are merely a conduit of information. Hey, if you guys are looking to make the move up here, give our real estate team a call, text, or email. We specialize in helping conservative families find their freedom right here in North Idaho. All right, well, let's fire
I'm already
it
getting
up.
made fun of. This is going to be a good podcast.
This is going to be fun.
It's going to be good.
Fits right in.
Yeah,
I love it.
absolutely.
All right, Heather Scott, welcome to the show, Idaho State
good to
Rep.
have
Man,
you.
I'm honored to have a rep in the building.
We're just
That's
normal
pretty
people.
Cool. Yeah,
Just normal.
I'm gathering that. Our conversation starting this, I'm like, oh, you're pretty normal. She brought us a sticker. It says, let's see, Representative Heather Scott, apparently a staunch 2A supporter. So thank you for that. We're fans of guns here.
Yeah, it's really interesting to have you on now, especially we just had elections here locally last night, and we had several of those candidates on the podcast, and you and I've talked about the direction of it. We want there to be some substance behind, the show, and we have a pretty good following, which is cool that
Right.
there's people that are listening, but essentially we just want to arm people with knowledge. So when they get out, an educated population is a engaged population, right?
Yes.
We just want them to have information. We do our damnedest to keep it unbiased. It's really difficult.
We try.
Well,
we
we
try.
can
We're
do
both
that.
former cops. It's hard.
Yes, but we try.
And I need to add, having any of these political candidates on is not an endorsement by North Idaho Experience necessarily. We've had a few reach out that were upset that we did not have them on the podcast. And it was not intentional. It's because you didn't reach out. Everybody else reached out.
Well,
So-
I'll say I'm not a candidate right now. I'm a
True.
state rep.
Yeah, you're a
So-
sitting
You're there.
representative.
You're
You're already
there.
in.
And we're not talking about candidate stuff. We're talking about Idaho government.
Yes, yes. And in fact, a big part of this is going to be, this is all related to the Judicial Watch that we have. Are we going with it? We're going with it. We've done a few
yeah.
episodes now. So it's rolling. I know it's rolling out slower than some would like. We are a good conduit of information, but Eric and I are very busy in our day jobs, so it's a little tough to gather it, but we're working on it.
I had a conversation on the way here where we talked about using that venue right after the Patriot Pour where we can actually get a collective group together
Yep.
and establish one that's a little bit more, full-time, where people can start getting into courtrooms and then reporting back and stuff like that. which I
Our
think would be
perfect
great.
vision is to have guys and gals show up in court with a bright shirt that says Judicial Watch on it, so a judge can be sitting up there on their little podium and look down and be like, okay, someone's holding me accountable.
So this is one step further than I've gone because I say just show up at court, sit in the back with a notebook, and just act like
Yeah.
you're taking notes. Just to let government know you're paying attention.
Yes.
Someone's got to be paying attention.
Yep, that accountability is huge, and I think I like the shirt idea because then it'll be very recognizable. They'll be like, okay, they're here again today. I better.
Well, you guys are used to uniforms. You're cops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's not to be an antagonist. It is the representation of an involved voting population.
Yeah.
Right, where it's just, hey, if there's standards that aren't being met, or there's clearly these one-offs, which there are several, right, where it just doesn't seem to fall in line with either state, local, or federal case law, then we should be able to report on that. That's a good thing. As a judge, I would want that. Right?
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, what other professions don't have any accountability besides politics sometimes?
Well, and what people don't understand, like when I first started, I didn't have any experience in government at all. I don't even think I
That's
voted.
the perfect type.
Yeah.
By the way.
I didn't, but I did realize as I learned and educated myself, all power is in the people. All power. It doesn't say some of the power. It doesn't say some of it's in the judge, and all power. And so if people don't exercise that power and they don't do what you say, their power is going into a courtroom and taking notes and then following a process to hold people accountable. That's where the power is.
Right.
And most people don't know that.
Well, and then the process of using that information is voting. Your voice here matters. Some of those elections last night, you had maybe 100, 200 people voting in an election, depending on where it was. I mean, the swing is
yeah.
12, 15 people.
It
matters.
I was a little disappointed because I was around the office yesterday and I'm like, hey, I got to go vote today. I mean, we talk a big game.
Right.
And I'm like, I have to go vote, right? And I didn't hear a lot of other people talking about it. And I'm like, we need to get out there. And then I go to vote and I was gravely disappointed. And maybe I should have realized what was up. But let me tell you what was on my particular ballot for where I live. I had 3 options total.
Right.
I could vote on the Post Falls School District, the Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, and then a budget increase for Kootenai County Fire.
Right.
That was the only thing. So I was like, oh, I don't even get to vote for a mayor. I don't get to vote because I live in the county, right?
Right.
That was a little bit disappointed.
Unincorporated.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, thank God I didn't have to wait in a line.
I didn't even have to go to I didn't have anything on my ballot.
Nothing.
So we didn't go vote. There was not. They were closed.
I guess
Right.
I'm a little naive. I thought there would be more on there.
No, not unless you live in the city.
Right.
But those are 3 things that raise your property tax that you just read.
Yes.
That's
Right.
what's on there. And
Yes.
so every one of those that passed is going to raise your property tax.
Which I have mixed feelings. I tend to lean very libertarian, but at the same time, I'm also very first responder friendly, and I understand that they aren't well funded here. So I have mixed feelings on this. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So you've been doing this 11 years? You said
11 years.
you've been a state rep for 11 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
I literally had no experience. I was a biologist working across the country, doing fisheries work, prayed for new direction, and doors start opening, Googled how do you run for office, and a lot of things fell into place quickly, and I became a state rep. So it happened. I was just a normal person. And I guess if I can encourage your listeners anything, we need just normal people to run for office.
Yeah.
People that just have common sense and are honest.
Seems like a simple concept.
You don't have to know everything. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So you don't have to know everything to run. But that's what makes better government is to get better people in government. Mm-hmm. And we just need normal people to step up.
What does a state rep do?
I figured that out after I got into the job. We write laws.
Okay.
A state rep, you watch Congress do their stuff at the federal level, but all that stuff's done at the state level. It's a different jurisdiction of government, right? The federal government puts on rules on the state, and the state, this is your pushback on the federal government, your state jurisdiction of government. And it also runs your state government. So that's what I do. I write state laws.
Are you
I
down
get
in
rid of
Boise?
state laws.
Are you down in Boise a lot?
Yeah, have to go to Boise. Well, not a lot. The way Idaho's set up is you're down there for 3 months. So I go down there January, February, March. Have to get an apartment.
Oh, wow.
And go, dress up every day.
What was that like the first time you went down there? You're like, I'm just a biologist.
I felt like Laura Ingalls meets the city.
Yeah.
I thought I bought a bunch of clothes. I didn't even own a dress, so I went out and bought all these dresses at Ross's, thinking, oh, I'm going to fit right in, and it didn't happen. I had to go out and buy suits, and it's very professional. It's
You should
very
just
different.
roll up in jeans and cowboy boots, like.
That's what I thought I got to do. I had my whites boots and my button downs, and I thought, yeah, nice shirt and nice jeans, and that's not going to work.
No,
down.
it doesn't fly. All right.
No,
Good to
no.
know.
But
Do you get called out, or you just feel out of place? Is somebody like, I'm not going to take you seriously?
with the old Speaker of the House, you got called out.
Oh.
This one, I think, you can get away with jeans on Fridays if it's covered up. Yeah, you can, we're working that way. We're moving that way.
To me, it's about substance. If somebody comes in and they've got a hoodie and they're a normal person that's lived, but they come in like that and they have a valid point and speak well for the people that they represent,
I get it.
Who cares?
I get it.
Here's a perfect analogy. Eric and I are wearing jeans and hoodies, and we wear this every day for work.
That's
and
true.
T-shirts in the summer.
That's accurate.
And we will show up to multi-million-dollar home sales, and we'll be dressed exactly like this. And it's
Yes.
like, well, you either like it or you don't.
What you see is what you.
Yeah, I refuse to wear a suit.
Right. Oh, I'm just
don't own
curious, and I come from a
But-
military background, so I understand that there's some
Decorum. There's some
Yes.
decorum,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
let it
We get
keep it, and so whatever. But then you write laws, and you like if something you don't like in government, then you just go to your state rep and say, hey, I don't like this. I met a guy last night who was with the fire commission, and he was telling me how they have all this money given to them, but it has to be spent in a certain way. So they're sitting on a pot of money that they can't use. So they're asking for levies. And so I said, well, why don't we just change the law? Let's go look at it. So that's kind of what I do. I look at the law and say, okay, let's just cross this out. And then you have to get a bunch of people to buy off on it and vote yes or vote no. And
right. I know where he's coming from, because I've seen that from the law enforcement side, where it's like, hey, we have to spend all this by the end of the year. Well, we can't spend it on that. That thing we actually need to use it for, we can't use it for that. We have to use it for something else.
Right.
It's like, that doesn't seem, let's get that to where it makes the most sense.
Right.
so those are fixes that we can do
Right.
at the state level. And
Gosh, I'm going to think of several by the end of this conversation. That's good.
well, I make my citizens work. So if you tell me, I'm like, well, where's it at in code? How do you figure it out?
Well, here's a big one. Here's a big one.
AI help is very helpful these days.
And I know Coeur d'Alene's not in your district, right? But the designated the resort city thing that we have talked about this endlessly. Someone needs to go down there and change the law, because you cannot designate a resort city over a population of 10,000. That is an antiquated law. A resort city would benefit Coeur d'Alene quite a bit on taxes, because then they could charge a bed tax to all of the tourists who would surely pay it anyway, and it wouldn't be that much money, and then that will help offset the budget problems.
We're never going to get to the judicial issues at this rate.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
It's coming. It's coming.
No.
There's probably better people to talk to you about that
Okay.
one.
All right. Yeah. So we hit the
Because there's 3 people that kind of represent Coeur d'Alene area.
Okay. Is Jordan one of them?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not in downtown.
Okay. All right. Well,
Who do you represent right now? What area of the state?
Bonner County, Kootenai County, Clearwater County, Benawag County, and Shoshone County.
dang.
Oh man,
It's
that's
big.
that's
it's
really
very
big.
rural. It's
Yeah.
the most rural district.
Okay.
They
clear-
redistrict me. We were building up a pretty big base, and we had a machine built from North Idaho, and I think when redistricting came, they drew a line around my chicken coop and went as far south as they could go.
Really?
Yeah,
So where do you actually live right now?
Blanchard.
Okay. Well, Clearwater County, isn't that Orfino?
Yep.
Yeah, that's way south.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Pierce.
down by like
Interesting.
Weippe and that's
Yeah.
way down there.
That's part of my district.
That's some good times fugitive hunting
It's
down in Weippe.
beautiful.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
It was a good story out of there.
What's
Different podcast.
we could get on the judicial watch, but what's your overall feeling about Idaho in general? Are we in good shape? Do we have good reps up here?
North Idaho is the most conservative legislators in the entire state. So we have good reps, but what a lot of people in North Idaho don't get is we are about 1/3 of the state.
Population wise?
Like our political thinking is so different than 2/3 of the state.
Gotcha.
What is it like when you're down there? Because I often think about this. When you're down in Boise, because it's like you're in the belly of the beast, do they just, you're North Idaho, and like push you to the side?
Pretty much. I
where
mean, yeah.
even though if you look up here, it's really hard to argue what's happening here. We have a lot of growth. Our Part 1 crimes are down. Thanks, buddy.
Spider.
Our Part 1 crimes are down 70% with a huge population increase. So it's just interesting to me there'd be such a significant legislative argument against policies, a lot of which we're already adapting in North Idaho, when the proof's in the pudding and it's successful. So it's got to be tough as a rep from North Idaho, because getting shouted down by people that are sucking.
Well, let's just say there's a lot of globalists in this state. I'd say there's a corporate church in this state. That's as far as I'll go with that one. And they believe in globalism. And so that's what I think is different about North Idaho. There might be globalists up here, but we believe in individual liberties and freedoms and the individual over the corporation and global. And I think that's a big disconnect with Boise.
Do you have concerns about us getting suppressed based on the population of Southern Idaho?
Yeah.
Our way of life. And
Well,
our
they're
values?
bringing in a ton of refugees in this state and illegals. And what I don't like, people up here would be like, that's ridiculous. But people down there, they're lobbying for it. We had the department or the head of the dairy association say 70% of their workforce is probably illegal.
Oh, wow.
And so they want the illegal aliens for cheap labor. The farms down there do. We don't understand that up here. We don't want illegals in our state.
Right.
But there's a huge disconnect with eastern Idaho, I'd say eastern and southern Idaho, and North Idaho.
I've long thought when it comes to that topic and the employment of illegal aliens, the onus should fall back on the business, and the punishment should be significant enough to thwart them from doing it in the first place. And it should be pretty severe. And if it means that my cost of milk goes up $1 a gallon, okay. But in the long term, that's a sound investment for me because I'm not going to be paying for all the other programs that goes along with it.
That's a good way to look at it.
Right? Where it's just, okay, so I'm going to pay a little bit more for this product, but I'm not going to be paying for the healthcare and a lot of the other stuff. So I've long thought the onus should be put on the employers. And if the punishment is severe enough that they're not willing to risk it, then it's not going to happen. Right? Because they're going to look at it and say, I can't afford that $25,000 fine. That'll put me out. Or $50,000 fine for a second offense. Or whatever it is you're going to do.
Right.
I don't know. So I'd imagine those arguments have been brought up. Did they just immediately get...
Well, you're just a minority. You're just from North Idaho. Gosh. Well, and I was super happy to hear that you guys call yourself North Idaho.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, who calls us Northern Idaho? Boise.
Yeah.
I am trying to bring back upstate Idaho.
Upstate.
Refer back to our previous conversation where I'm from. So,
Upstate Idaho, I like it. We could be Yoopers. I guess we're on an upper peninsula of Idaho.
I don't know. We might have to divide at some point, like Oregon.
Yeah.
So we need to stick with North Idaho for now.
Yeah.
It sounds better, I got to say.
Once we divide from North Idaho, we have to pull Moscow in.
Well, dang it, Representative Scott.
Sorry.
I wanted you to make me feel better about that. But I also want true, legitimate, valid information for somebody who has to go sit through that stuff.
We're doing good when you look across the country. Mm-hmm. We're doing okay. But it's going to take a lot more to secure our state. I mean,
preventative maintenance.
In my opinion, we have a Democrat that's our governor that, he has an R after his name. But,
right.
But he needs the Democrats to get elected.
Right.
And so it's constant establishment one after another in this state. And no one challenges. And it's hard to challenge. It's hard because we're only 1/3.
Is there anybody in the wings that's looking to take a shot at the governor title?
I don't think anyone will challenge him. I may be wrong, but we'll see. They'll probably announce now that the election's over, but they should have been working on it like for 3 years.
Right, right.
But we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But
I love your concept of normal people actually need to get into politics. And I think, although in my core, I feel like it's a little bit of a pipe dream, because if you're in Northern Idaho, that makes some sense. A little bit smaller population, people are going to resonate with you. Once you get up to that level of state representation, like the governor, whatever your original intentions, however altruistic, the return on investment you need to pay back to the people that made promises, and you made promises too. I'm not sure that you ever actually get to whatever you were trying to accomplish.
Let's remember John Dutton in Yellowstone, Eric. It can be done, okay?
Yeah.
That's true.
It can be done, at least in a fictional TV show.
That's absolutely. But I struggle with that part with politics, because the way our system's set up, you end up owing so many freaking favors. I don't know if you ever actually get to the things that you wanted to.
I don't feel like I owe anyone any favors.
No, not your seat. That's what I mean.
Well,
I think where you are, like that's
the state.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have hope, because we've had some local candidates on recently, and same as you, they're doing it because they feel like it's their duty. It's not their lifelong ambition to be a politician.
You know what we get paid?
Not very much, I'm guessing.
No. I have no idea.
$25,000 a year.
Oh my goodness!
And I bet I probably work at least 40 hours a week every week on this.
Oh, wow.
Minimum.
And you sign up just to get eviscerated on social media and every other platform known to man. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, it's part of
it. I figure my dad was military. My grandpa's fought in World War II. It's like, it's service. I guess
service, right?
I'm in a spot where I can do it, and I like to help people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and keep lobbying against those Southern Idahoans. And I know there's some
But we
good
don't
ones
need a
out there.
war. We need them to come our way.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. No, it's
We
just
got it.
most of the time we're not as far away as people think. You know, when you first walk in RD or whatever, you're not as far away as you think.
No.
We just have a disagreement about how to get to what we want.
Yep.
Everybody wants what's best for our community and best for our kids. There's just oftentimes, based on upbringing, environment, parents, education, perception, all of that stuff, there's just a disagreement on how to get there.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just think get people in a room, get them off social media.
I'm going
I
to just
agree.
change topics.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
bring
Send
it.
it.
Bring
Okay, so we wanted to talk about kind of judiciary reform. And so this year we started a task force in Idaho called the Child and Family Domestic Relations Task Force. And we did this because at the end of the session this year, we found out that judges are placing children in pedophiles' homes. And convicted pedophiles who have gotten out of prison are getting custody of children. And we're like, this is wrong. So we tried to pass a bill. And when we brought this to the attention, it just opened this huge can of worms. So I've spent the last summer, since March, we set up this task force, and we've had 5 meetings across the state. We did one in Boise, North Idaho, Eastern Idaho, Idaho Falls, back in Meridian and Boise. It's unbelievable what's happening to our families and our children in this state. And so I guess I wanted to just start that topic because it's something I see with the moral decay of our country and people in general. There's so many divorces, there's so many custody battles, there's so many people that do bad things to children, and we found out that a lot of these decisions are being made in courtrooms are possibly violating people's parental rights. They seem like really poor decisions, but the legislature, we can't question a judge's decision. They have all the facts, we don't. And so we can only look at changing the law. And I think you probably dealt with this as police officers with the fentanyl issue. Mandatory minimums, you've heard of that. Because the judges have a lot of discretion, we've learned. And we're finding it's really hard. There's a lot of complaints sent out about judges, but judges don't really have a lot of discipline. And that whole judicial branch, we've been looking into it and trying to figure out ways we can pass legislation that might improve that judicial branch and the results of the judicial branch. So I'm curious on.
You said the magic word, fentanyl.
Oh.
This is what
I saw his eyes light up.
Eric
There's something
lives for
tweak out
this.
right
Yes.
I commend you on pursuing that. We've long questioned whether or not there was any accountability in the judicial ranks. Like when we have a court decision go completely awry of what we know to be modern contemporary case law and what the rulings have been at the Idaho Supreme Court or the U.S. Supreme Court
Right.
level. And we're like, how is this even possible?
Right.
You know, in every other profession, there's some standards and accountability, and it just seems like we don't have that here. These magistrate courts, I just don't see it.
That is what we've been looking at mostly. Family courts all done by magistrate judges. This judicial council, we've been looking into that. Like, what's that process? This is what a legislator does. We look at what's that process look like? What is this agency even doing? And are they doing their job of judicial oversight? And what does the Supreme Court do? And what we've found is you cannot question a judge's ruling. You can only question their ethics. And there's these ethical canons they have that they can only be challenged on their. That's the only way they can get in trouble. And you have to have reasonable doubt to do that. I mean, you have to have a lot of evidence to prove. A lot of their discipline is done in private, so they say.
Ethics is tough because it's not black and white.
Right.
Right?
But how can you not question their ruling in law when you've got so many other cases with similar elements drawing totally different conclusions and referencing different case laws? How can you not question their ruling?
Oh, well, and that's where we're at. So this committee, we've had a survey out. We've had over 200 people fill this survey out that have dealt with issues in the courts. And we're looking for trends. You know, maybe it's a county trend, maybe it's a judge trend, maybe it's a process trend. And what we're finding, it's the same problem everywhere. And so we've had these judges come and testify. We've had lawyers come and testify. We've had family counselors and all these people testify. And while they're testifying, everyone in the background is like shaking their head like, that's not true. That's not true. And so I forget your question.
No, I'm curious why. Like, you can't look at their rulings and then question the validity of their rulings. Like, it's set up statutorily that I don't get to question your performance, because ultimately that's what we're talking about. No other. As a cop, you got to judge my performance all the dang time. And you got to do it from hindsight with like 3 months of reviewing body camera and saying the decision I made in 3 seconds, you got to say 6 months later.
Right.
May or may not have yielded a more favorable result. So it blows my mind that there can't be a committee that would look at it and say, no, we think you misinterpreted this. That's not the way this is done anywhere else, because that's how you end up with frickin' the Clark decision, right? Where cops can no longer arrest on misdemeanors that didn't occur in their presence, which is incredibly dangerous for domestic violence victims. But that's how you end up with that decision, because there's not a body that can look at it and go, this is a complete misrepresentation of this case. That's that part. So I don't get how we don't have a means of...
Well, I think this is what's happening, is all the eyes are starting to go on judiciary now. I mean, we are, as legislators, I was told when I first got there that they do their own rules and they kind of discipline their own. That's what I was told as a new legislator. I'm realizing now we have authority for oversight of a check and balance, to say.
Yeah.
So that's what we're kind of looking at. Are there laws that need changes? Are there laws that need clarified? Because the results we're seeing, it appears that there's bad things. There is bad things happening. I can give you story after story. Like I brought a list of I asked the gals. I said, give me kind of some of the stuff. We've got custody going to homeless people, drug addicts.
I've seen that.
Full custody. Like when you look at these cases from the outside, it's like if this parent's a pedophile that just got out of prison and this parent is working at the hospital as a nurse, they're picking the pedophile. And they're taking away your parental rights on one end and they're putting them in another.
What's the thought
story
process?
After story? We don't know. That's what we're trying to figure out, is what is the problem in the system?
I always defer to incompetence first because I like to have hope that humans are at least not evil all the time.
Right.
But I don't know. Can I defer to incompetence on that?
You know what I said earlier on? You get better government by getting better people in government. So we're looking at the processes on how we pick judges, what that looks like, requirements, those kind of things. We obviously have let go over the years to where maybe that's part of it. I have to say, we don't have a solution yet. We have little tweaks in the law that might help a lot of these children that are getting placed in. I just heard a story this morning on my way in. Someone sent it to me. A child just got placed with the abusive father who killed her, the little girl. And I mean, these kind of things happen, and we have to seriously look at our courts.
What if a cop made that decision on the street, right? Like, what if I, let's see, for example, if I arrested somebody for DUI and there was a child and I released that child to, and I didn't do my homework on who I released that child to, that child was killed or something, I would be held accountable.
And you
Would
didn't.
you, as a cop?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So a judge can do that and there's no accountability.
Well, I've talked about this before. People want to talk about removing the immunity of law enforcement, and we have to make rapid decisions in the moment. And people discuss across the country removing immunity, right, from law enforcement. But we've never discussed it for a judge. In that case,
I like that.
You had all the time in the world. You had all the time to review everything. And you have the benefit in doing it in a scenario where it's not stress-induced and it's not rapid and tense and rapidly evolving. You have all this time to review all of it. And then you come to this conclusion. And the community relies on you to come to this conclusion. And by statute, it sounds like maybe not statute, but by interpretation, we can't even judge you. Like, we can't even discuss whether or not that you erred in your ruling. That's wild to me. How do you get better? How do you improve? Because to me, it's all about competition. And the way that we beat this is elections. Pay attention to what's actually happening with judges and start getting incumbents removed that shouldn't be there. And oftentimes, I just think they lose perspective.
Yeah.
I have a story. So I have someone that tried to do a recall on a judge or to not retain them. You know, that's the other thing. They show up on the thing, let's retain this judge or not. You're not voting for it, you're voting to not retain them or something like that. So they had retaliation for actually running a campaign to not retain a judge.
What kind of retaliation do you know?
Yeah, they filed stuff with the Secretary of State, said that they were, doing it. They got off on it, but the judge actually retaliated.
Was it local?
I don't want to say.
All
no,
right.
it was
Okay.
not, but
Okay.
I don't want to
Okay.
say.
All right.
You
No,
don't
I
say
don't want
name.
you.
You don't
It
say
wasn't
name.
up here.
All right.
But that's the other thing we hear from the citizens. Like we've every one of these committee meetings has been like six or 7 hours. First half we have government people talking like CPS or guardian ad litems, talking about the system and the process, and then we have like 3 or 4 hours of personal testimony. And I forget what I was going to say.
No, but I imagine.
So
those,
a lot of stories.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of those hit home.
Yeah.
A lot of those personal ones.
And they're the same story over and over.
I'm just
like-
glad. I think it always starts with people paying attention, and I'm glad we're at that point because I think we always assume judges are gonna rule with case law and logic and they're fine. Like there's no room for interpretation, but clearly that's not the case.
Yeah, it's tough because you don't want them to be robots, right? But I do think you're 100% right. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, because we've talked about this. We talk about AI, right? Like, what a great application because they have immediate recall if it's not biased. But you want there to be some individuality, but there should be standards as well. So the lane shouldn't be the width of the table. Right. The lane should be like the width of the paper, where you're kind of you're relying on your previous experience. We shouldn't have a ruling that's way out there, and we shouldn't have one that's way out there. And I don't even care about right and left. I don't care, right? But there should be a standard. There
you
should be a
want
lane.
discretion. You
Yes.
want the judges to have discretion. That's what they are. They're judges. But just like every profession, you get bad apples. And if there's no way to clean up the bad apples or any accountability, how do you get rid of the bad apples?
And oftentimes they don't start that way.
No.
Right? They come in and it's like you've expired your shelf life. The apple has gone bad. Whether you've lost perspective or things have changed in your life or you're so removed from what's actually going on at the ground level, but your interpretations are no longer valid. I've seen that happen with judges. And there has to be a better mechanism of getting some attention on that and available to the public so they can make an informed vote. That's where I get frustrated.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't want to pass a whole bunch of laws because especially in family court, every situation is so different.
Oh, yeah.
Every situation. So if you say, well, we're going to go with this 50-50 custody or we're going to do this, every single situation you want to give the judges a little bit of discretion because they know the details.
Yeah, and I guess in family court that's particularly important. I'm thinking, other court where maybe less discretion is needed and maybe just
You're thinking with drugs and stuff.
Yeah, but you're right. Family court, it's different.
The deal with drugs in that is the jails are full.
Yeah.
Society, the moral decay of our society. I mean, we're there. Families, there's so many people on drugs anymore. You can't just put them all in jail. We have to do something to fix society. Mm-hmm. And that's where we are. We just want the problems to go away. But the way we're going, it's just going to keep getting more. Look at California. Look at these other states. It's coming here.
Right.
It's trying.
Well, it's tough because I kind of look at it.
Not in North Idaho, but the rest of the state.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. And like I said, I was in the drug game for a really, really long time. And I just got a text from one yesterday, and she's doing amazing. She just keeps me up to speed with how well she's doing. And she's recovered. Good. And every time she promotes, I get a cool text. Anyway, she's doing really, really well for herself. But said that getting arrested was the best thing that ever happened to her. There has to be some teeth in that. There has to be some accountability, and I'll keep going back to that, because her actually going to jail for long enough to get clean and get sober and go through vicious withdrawals, which fentanyl withdrawals, there's nothing worse than that. And we were never intended to use that substance illicitly, but they have to go to jail, and then there has to be some teeth in it afterwards. So the judicial system can't just stop holding people accountable, because drugs are at the crux of so many violent crimes, and almost all of our property crimes. So it's a tough balance.
I know.
And I do want people to be able to get treatment, because what's affecting Idaho and North Idaho is national. When our borders were completely wide open, that's where everything came from. I'll argue that with anybody. I don't care. When the borders were wide open, we had fentanyl flooding across the southern border. What's nice right now is OTF, Opiate Task Force, has a tough time finding fentanyl here now.
That's awesome.
I wonder why. Like, the supply lines dry up. Right? So I'm hoping we can get back to where the state has a little bit more control. And I know it's a tough deal with beds in the jails and stuff like that, but I'll never believe in the book and release. The lack of accountability, because they learn that fast and they know that they can get away with anything. It's how you end up with Spokane.
And I lived that in California when that switched over, and they decriminalized meth, heroin, and now I'm writing a ticket for it, and they're not going to jail.
And they're laughing.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and ripping it up. Like,
they don't care.
No.
See, we're the only state that it's illegal. Marijuana is illegal, and it's a 5-year mandatory minimum for pot.
Right.
I think at a certain amount.
With a large quantity. But you talked about discretion with judges. I've been parts of cases where they were over the minimum. Number one, it took way too long to get minimum mandatory sentencing for fentanyl. It's the most dangerous illicit substance our society's ever seen, and the most pervasive use, and it took way too long for Idaho to get to minimum mandatory. We couldn't charge trafficking, which is the harshest drug law in the state, but it was nice that it finally passed.
I'll tell you the problem with that bill, just so you know.
Yeah.
Why it was hard to sell it is they were saying if somebody had a drop of fentanyl in a gallon jug, they're gonna weigh the entire jug, and you're gonna get caught with that much fentanyl. And you're talking to people that aren't doing drugs. They don't understand it. We don't understand the numbers, and it just seemed unfair. To me, that seems unfair.
You needed a dumb door-kicking street cop to come explain this.
Exactly.
All right? And then I could explain it better.
But I think, we understand it could kill a lot of people, but it's like it just didn't seem fair. Right.
I get it. And I think it'd be easy to argue it that way. But when you realize, number one, the officer's discretion on scene is largely important, and then the prosecutor's job is extremely important. What is the actual content? By the time it actually goes to jury trial, they're going to be able to assess how much fentanyl was in that large quantity. If you're talking about 0.2 milligrams that were inside a 8-ball of cocaine, that's a lot different. And I would question whether or not they actually knew that there was fentanyl in that, because most cocaine users don't want fentanyl in their stuff, but it was getting cut. So I totally understand that. It was really frustrating as a street cop, because I couldn't charge our best law to actually put away a dangerous drug dealer that's killing people with minimum mandatory sentencing. And then by the time it gets to a judge, the judge will use discretion to remove the minimum mandatory sentencing and put him on a rider. So I'm going to see him again in 6 months.
And that's what, we don't understand enforcement. You guys do. That's where testimony means a lot. Because, see, as a legislator, I've gone from a biologist to now I have to be an expert at everything.
That's valid. That's valid.
Now I got to make decisions on healthcare and transportation and police. And
if you ever need an expert in drugs and that he's well spoken, I know where to find him.
I see that.
Yeah.
Oh well, no,
and he'd be happy to come down.
I want what's best for our citizens and best for our state. I want Idaho to be the beacon for other states to model some of their policies after, because I think we're still that throwback community where neighbors talk to each other. You smile, you hold the door open for people. Yeah. People are grounded in solid framework of virtues and values. So yes, I'm a big fan of that, and I would gladly come speak about that in place of officers who would probably be a little more reserved and concerned about violating policy.
Right.
I would gladly do
I think
that.
what I didn't understand is you think like, oh, you charge them and they're done. They're going to when I hear mandatory minimums, I think, okay, he gets caught with this jug of water with a drip in it. I don't think right off the bat, you always got to go through the prosecutor, the cop, until someone explained all those steps. I'm like, oh, well, they're really going to be guilty by the time they get.
For sure.
And then the judge just throws it out or has the discretion to say,
It has to get through all of that.
I get it.
And
Now I get it.
Yeah, but find me a prosecutor that's going to charge that for the drop that's in a gallon.
I get it.
Right? Like I wish there wasn't that disconnect. And good on you. What separates you from many is your admission that I'm not an expert in all of it. How could I possibly be? Just because I got elected doesn't mean I'm now an expert in all of that.
Yeah.
And I think where people get into trouble is they bottleneck their sources of information instead of seeking to understand.
Right.
And then they're making decisions for the rest of the state without having a foundation of knowledge on the topic.
Well, and it happens quick down there. You're there for 3 months, and I think we passed 600 bills. So you're just
wow.
like, it's just constant.
Yeah.
Constant.
Do judges ever go on ride-alongs with law enforcement? I've never taken one.
I've done
Have
a
you ever heard of
ride-along.
that?
I love them.
They're fun.
No, I don't think we never have.
Seems like a common sense thing, right?
Oh,
It's just like the chief or the sheriff going out with the troops, seeing what's actually going down on the ground level. I feel like that would be so beneficial for a judge, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's one easy step to take. Like, hey, you got to do a
Yes.
ride along
Well,
once a
we've
quarter.
actually looked about training for judges. We're like, how, do we train them in domestic violence? They seem to be putting these children in domestic violence
I
situations.
think they need to go with a cop in that house
And
and see
understand
the human shit all over and the cockroaches and be like, that's what you're sending this kid to. Are you
yeah.
okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's some of the stories would break your heart.
Oh, no, yeah,
And-
we've seen them.
Yeah.
I'd love to see. Yeah, that'd be interesting. How about like an academy? Because I think they would benefit. Think about if they learned what new cops learned about modern drug trends and
Right,
what they actually do, and then you watch the video of one of our local officers walking in and talking to a 3-year-old who slept with her dead mother the night prior because she OD'd on fentanyl, and then talk to me about how it's victimless.
Well, it's,
Right? Like,
Yes.
man.
what's interesting here is we got legislative, executive, because you guys are enforcing the law, and the judicial.
Yeah.
And unless we have those conversations,
Yeah.
we don't know the other side. Unless we have those relationships, and judges are kind of in a bubble. I mean, they're really busy.
Right.
They kind of keep to themselves because they're not allowed to talk about cases and stuff. So I've heard they kind of got a tight little clique amongst themselves. And so if you don't hear what you just said or what I just said, you don't know.
That's the bottlenecking of resources, right? Like that's the funneling of information. And I will say there's 2 judges out here in particular, and I'm sure there are a couple other ones, but I have a lot of respect for them, and they were awesome. Anytime I'd go in there to get a warrant or have them draft me one for a house, or I'm going in to get an arrest warrant, they just ask me questions about what's going on out there. Say, Boardman, what's going on? What are you guys seeing with this? I heard this thing about, and they would ask questions,
Right.
Because they took, and some of those conversations, I'd be in there for an hour and a half. Oh yeah, here's what we're seeing. This is what it means when you see this. If you're seeing, but they would go, oh, okay. What better way? But other ones already know everything. They have to know everything. They're on this pedestal, and they have zero questions about any of it. It's like, hey man, because I offered to do a brown bag lunch with all the judges locally. When I was doing OTF, I was like, I'd love to come down and talk about trends. The prosecutor's office is like, hell yeah. Like, come down and show
Right.
us. We don't know either because we expect a lot from the prosecutor's office. But they read it in reports and see it in pictures. Having somebody come down and describe it and then show them and frame it out in like video, they're like, okay, I get it.
It's
get
like
it.
common sense. This all comes down to ego, is what I'm gathering,
Yeah.
and not being able to look like you don't know something.
It's funny that it comes down to ego because I always think it actually comes down to insecurity. If you're unwilling to admit that, hey, I'm not an expert in this, but this person is, and I want to hear what they have to say, that to me comes to, because then it shows you as being vulnerable and weak, when in reality it shows
It's strength. It's strength. Yeah, I don't get that because, yes, they're an expert in the law.
I'm really glad
Sure.
you're doing that,
Yeah.
by the way,
Yeah.
that you're following. And okay, I'm going to open this up.
Lots of people doing it.
Yes. Representative Scott mentioned it, and I'm going to follow through with it. Judicial branch, we're missing you. You are more than welcome to come sit in this seat. I would love to have open.
should do that.
I would love to have open, candid conversations about what's going on here locally in
They
court.
might not be allowed. I don't know.
I think they fall under the same rules of attorneys, and attorneys have to be careful. Like, you can't sling mud on an existing judge, which is kind of cool because we fall completely outside of that, bro. We
Yeah.
can say whatever we want. But yeah, I would love to just have an open, candid conversation about what's going on.
Maybe
locally.
we start with, because I think Stan Mortensen said he would come on,
Yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah, it'd
I
be
just
great.
made myself a note to get him on for the next Judicial Watch. He's the prosecutor.
Okay.
and just have him share his side.
Yeah, because we're not lawyers. We're just
Definitely
dudes
not.
that get information from people locally,
Right,
and then
right.
I was part of that, right?
Right.
But from the outside, I don't know the inner workings of every court system.
Nobody does.
No.
I don't even think they do.
Yeah, that's bad. That's why we're here.
Right.
That's why we're here talking about it. Has support for this program been generally positive, or have you gotten a bit of both?
I think so. You mean the task force?
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, we've got lawyers talking to us behind the scenes because they're afraid to say stuff in front of judges. The people that have dealt with family court are very interested. Task force like this have actually started across the country. I've had people call from other states that are trying to set up what we're doing in Idaho because it's a big problem. So there's a lot of interest in it. And the problem is it's so overwhelming. Number one, the emotional drain as you sit there for 3 hours and hear. I had a lady the last thing say that her son died in a car accident, and as upsetting as it was a relief to get out of family court. I mean, that's sad.
Wow.
I mean, that's super sad when you just are so frustrated with it. It's bankrupt a lot of people. There's one lady that used to be like a professional, and she spent so much money trying to get her kids back that she's homeless now. And so there's just story after story. So there's a lot of interest. For legislators, it's overwhelming. We have some great volunteers in the back that are trying to just crunch the data and organize it so it's in palatable bites, because you could be overwhelmed and just kind of give up on it because it's a big project. But I think if we just attack little parts at a time, I think that's good. I think the judges are really interested. I've heard feedback that they're trying to figure out, like, what are you guys working on? What legislation are they working on? People in the judicial system, because they want to know, because it's going to affect their livelihood and their life. But we've got a lot of stuff coming, I think, this next session in January that will be hopefully make some good positive changes.
I think it's absolutely necessary, and if the timing's not perfect, it's like a year late. And not late, we can fix it, but there was a Ninth Circuit decision that removed a significant amount of law enforcement's ability to emergency shelter children. And some of these circumstances that cops are now required to leave kids in are atrocious. Because we're still Idaho and we are governed by the Ninth Circuit, it no longer was like the reasonable officer, reasonable person standard.
It's a higher standard now?
Far higher. Like, it is really hard to get that, and it damn near requires a judicial review, and it's like a call to the prosecutor at the least. And oftentimes you need a judge to actually go, okay, you can shelter. And whereas before you could walk in and go, okay, you've had a diaper that hasn't been changed in 3 days. Your mom's got a needle in her arm laying over here on the floor. Like, you're getting sheltered with me. And then it at least starts the hearing
When you
process.
say getting sheltered, you mean put them into CPS?
Yeah, so officer would basically take custody of the children at the time and say, hey, look, I just need you to be safe for now. It's just a temporary emergency sheltering, at which time they signed, you look up the next court date, which is within a week, in damn near every instance I've ever seen, usually faster. But CPS will come out and respond. They go to a temporary house where they're going to be safe.
And no cop wants to do that, right?
Right.
It's a pain in the ass. It's going to tie you up for hours, and so it's like they don't take it lightly.
But
you know what I mean?
As a sergeant, I can tell you that what's worse than that is the look on that cop's face. Go, how am I not able to remove this
Right.
kid?
And I'll
How
tell you
am
why.
I not?
I'll tell you why. Because I deal with good people that have had their kids taken by CPS for no reason.
Yeah.
And I think 85% of the kids that are taken by CPS are returned with no issue.
Right.
And so, and after long processes. And some of the horror stories from CPS, and this committee touches on CPS a bit, but it's got problems of its own. I've looked at social workers' records that complete lies, and there's no accountability for social workers.
See, that's completely unacceptable.
I understand.
Yeah, that's...
And it comes back to get better people in government and
Right.
moral decay of our society.
Right.
That's where we're at, where people don't think twice about lying or taking a child. There's a lot of...
Is that, are those cases CPS going out and doing their own thing, or is that coming from law enforcement calling CPS? Because, like, from my own personal experience, and I didn't deal with it nearly as much as you had, but like, I would do everything in my power to avoid calling CPS, but not leaving a kid in a situation like that. For me, it was usually like, drunk driver, I have a kid. What am I gonna do with this kid? I will find a family member, find something to pass this kid to before I called CPS, because I don't want a kid to have to go
Right.
there, right? Unless shit is really, really bad.
My guess is they're not separate in the law, and maybe that's where we need to look at it and make sure that police officers, when they call, it's a different than when we have mandatory reporting in our state. So, excuse me. So they get hundreds and hundreds of calls. Like, I don't like my neighbor, so I'm going to turn him in for CPS.
Or my ex-husband is
My
blah, blah, blah.
ex-husband,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And so maybe there should be something different when law enforcement calls CPS. Maybe they have a different process. I don't know.
Yeah, the emergency sheltering I know is a huge concern for ours. Just to give you an example, I've been a part of a traffic stop where the pill was loaded with foils and exposed pills. And you're talking about pills that have between 0.2 and 0.6 milligrams of fentanyl per pill. 0.2 is considered lethal by the frickin' DEA, right? And each one, it just varies depending on what the pill is, with a toddler in the back. And all of this is within reach.
Right.
And one is so completely knotted out, she can't even communicate. And the other is obviously a pervasive user. I tell people that I tell this to addicts all the time, look, I don't want your child to grow up without mom and dad.
But
You have to be sober. I will. I don't want them to grow up with you if you're not sober.
right,
Like, you don't get to make that mistake and let it cost them their life.
right.
Right? Like, that one, how can I not emergency shelter on
Well, I agree.
That's immediate, because then they go to jail. Let's say you get a judge, there's ORs them the next morning, because that happens. They've got custody of that child within 24 hours.
They get the kid back within 24 hours?
Oh, yeah. Because most of the time, you know what it is now? Cops call grandma. Cops call another family member. The child goes there. There's no paperwork in place. I send it off, and then it goes through CPS anyways, which sounds like it may not be the best. I send the report off. They do all of the follow-up, as opposed to the officer taking charge in that moment and conducting emergency sheltering.
See, I guess what I was getting at is, like, maybe be careful filtering some of those stories, because they may not be accurate based on our experience.
And
Right.
I agree. And
Yeah.
and that's what, every side of a story is there's two sides.
Oh, yeah.
And in these, a lot of the things we're dealing with are contentious custody battles. You get
ugly.
two parents fighting. They both want 100% custody of the child. And so what we're trying to do is, if one's going to continually lie, we have, I don't know, it's such a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes the judge just seems like they're picking the worst parent. And
Right.
you're like, how is this happening?
Right.
Sometimes, it's just, I don't know.
Well, what's
And
unfortunate...
that's the thing. We don't know the details of the
course.
case.
Right.
And that's where I think there needs to be more accountability on judges, because a lot of these judges are just sealing the cases so no one can oversight on.
Right.
And so maybe they've made a really bad decision, and you find you can't dig into it.
Right. Well, and I hate those cases too, because most of the time those kids are used as leverage. It's not even for what's
Right.
best for the child. It's
Right.
just to one up the other party. And a lot of times they don't even want them 100% of the time, right? But they'll do it in spite of you. I mean, I've
Right.
seen those.
Well,
and
I mean,
that's-
we have lawyers that saying we won't go to family court anymore
Yeah.
because a judge. We have children right now that are being sexually abused, and the advice to them is stay in the situation because you will lose custody. And so I because judges will pick a side, and there's and I think it's like, how do you get rid of the bad apples? I think there's some bad apples, and in the Idaho legislature we do have opportunities to defund. We created magistrate courts. We could remove magistrate courts. We could do a different process. We have never impeached a judge. I don't know what if that will ever happen, but those are probably the only two oversight we have on judges.
Well,
and then we set up the judicial complaint system. So.
Yeah. Well, I do think if there was a judge and it was a bad apple and there's a track record, if you were able to impeach one, all of a sudden there's a system of accountability, and I think that has a ripple effect.
Right.
We talked about that locally. There's a couple of judges that I wouldn't be upset if they were not elected on the next round, and I think that would send a resounding message to the rest that, all right, if there's not going to be a system, if the system is not going to hold you accountable, the people will, and that's where the power should be. But it's incumbent upon us. I say this all the time when I try to find out, show me a website where I as a citizen can look up what judges are up for re-election.
Ooh, we have one. It just got started.
What is it?
I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, I want
Text
it.
it to me.
I was trying to
I'll put this in the
look
notes,
it up
I promise.
before. I was trying to look it up before we got on. It just got started this year, so
Good, because I looked it up on kcgov.us. I tried to find what judges are up for re-election, but the manner in which that they're selected is so funky because they'll have their selection board, which is weird in and of itself because you talked about how judges get selected. It's like a phone call with down south, and then there's like some people vote, but if you pissed them off in jury trial, they're not. Whatever.
And most lawyers won't run for judges because if they lose,
yeah, they're out.
they're
in
the
a tough
judge has
spot.
got to
Yeah, they're in a tough spot. But tried to look it up on kcgov.us, but because they get selected for like 18 months and then they go again for 4 years, you just don't know when they're up.
I know.
And it's like
I know.
it should never be random.
I know. You know what else they do is they get elected and then they retire.
Right.
And then the governor appoints someone. We're supposed to elect our judges, and I think of the last 50-some judges, like 57, I think like 54 of them have been appointed.
That's unacceptable.
That's unacceptable. And that's we've tried to do nice things like, hey, if you follow out your term, you'll get a little bonus, and that's not working. So I think we're going to have to pass a law that says there'll be an election instantly if you retire for the next term.
Oh, because it's intentional, right?
You know it.
Because they're appointing, and you said their sphere is so close. I think if there was a law in place that restricted that, unless there was some sort of emergency, I don't want somebody to stay in a job, especially if they're sick or alien or they have a family member, like there's circumstances. But I absolutely think that people should be able to elect them. And they won't want to shaft the rest of that circle with overburdening them with more cases.
Right.
The tendency would be to hang on through that term, or guess what? Don't run.
Right.
If you don't have the intention of completing your term, don't run. Life can happen. I'm not talking about those cases, but I think that could be a benefit because then the people get to choose. The people get to see a little bit of a campaign, at which point track records should come up. Mm-hmm. You should be groups like ours can bring up certain circumstance where it's like, hey, come have a seat. Let's hash this out. I got a few questions for you before you're a judge.
I think the biggest thing you have to do is you have to have people willing to take the place of judges.
Right.
I mean, you have to have people to challenge them, and no one ever challenges a judge. No one.
It happened here, and it actually was
probably rare.
Yeah, but it was pretty close. It was actually a pretty close race.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot of information out there. And the tendency for people when they go in to vote, it's like, oh, it's safe. Kootenai County's great. We're down a whole bunch in Part 1 crimes, so this incumbent judge must be doing a really good job. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's just not.
I have a feeling you got a judge in mind. Just have that feeling.
A couple. I mean, it's not. I'm not out to get anybody.
Well,
it's just.
I mean, they're no different than any other political candidate. Just because they're judges. I mean, legislators. People come after legislators all the time and expose what they like or don't like about them. And county commissioners and city council judges are elected officials. Same as, there just needs to be the same amount of accountability.
I 100% agree with you.
So there's probably someone out there whose blood is boiling right now listening to all of this. What do you need to help with what you're doing? Do you need anything? Do you need volunteers? Do you need...
I would say that if there's someone that has dealt with family court to fill out the survey, I don't have that link, but maybe by
Can
the
you
time
send it to me?
I can send it to
okay,
you.
We'll put it in the show notes.
If they fill out the survey, it just helps us look at trends across the state. It's And I personally would say, stay out of family court. Work it out with your spouse. If you're going to get a divorce, and you have to work it out with your spouse. You have to figure out some kind of a custody. Don't let the judges do it for you, because you might not like what they come up with. That would be my advice. Someone whose blood's boiling, like, you mean someone in the judiciary, like,
No,
we've already.
I meant people who want to help.
Oh, want to help?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think just showing up. It's not just voting. It's making the time to show up and sit in court, to pay attention, to talk to your neighbors, to, when you hear of a problem, help figure out how that problem happened. I had an issue. It's been going on for a month now, an adoption issue. It's like, I didn't know anything about adoption, but I have to Google it just like everyone else. I have to use AI just like everyone else. So when you hear someone that's dealing with a problem in government, go the next step yourself, because you have the power. Understand the process and help that person navigate. And then when you can't figure it out, call your elected people and figure out how to fix it. You have to engage more than voting. You can't just think you're going to show up and vote and you're going to keep the republic, because you won't.
Right.
Well, that's just it. Like, your vote matters, but your voice matters more. And I think that's where you just have to keep the rest of your circle and sphere informed. And that doesn't mean projecting your opinion onto everybody and forcing them to align, but just provide them with a different perspective and facts.
Well,
I think that's our goal.
But not only that, it's like, you can't just call an elected official and demand they fix your problem. That doesn't fix your problem. Your problem is probably with the executive branch. I mean, they have over 200 commissions that are regulating you as a citizen.
Wow.
And so understand that process and then what needs to be fixed. That's kind of what you got to do.
Right.
How do your constituents get a hold of you?
Don't email me.
Don't email her.
Don't email me. Probably X.
Oh, okay.
At Heather
Cool.
Scott ID. You could message me on X, or you can call me. That's probably the best way. My number's very public.
Yeah.
But I get so many emails and I just can't keep up.
Yep.
So you can email me. I'll probably read it, but you probably won't get a response. If you need a response, call me.
Do you have a business line that you?
It's just my cell phone.
Okay. I love
Yeah.
that. I love
Yeah,
that.
so you can put that in there.
Okay,
And
I'll put it
the
in
left finds it, and then they lose it, and then they find it. So, but that's just the best way to get a hold of me. Texting is best, right? Like, my name is so-and-so, and here's my issue. Call me. And then when I don't call you, then text me again.
Well, just know that you're not alone in this crusade that you're on. There are those of us that are out here as concerned citizens that want our voting population to be informed of what's going on here locally. And we're going to continue on that path.
I like what you're doing. I mean, I think this is great. People can see what North Idaho is all about and then understand government. Because everybody hates politics, but it's what governs everything around us. So
I have learned so much through these conversations. I realized
Yeah.
that I didn't know a damn thing, and I'm still learning just quite a bit.
Me neither, and I was
cool.
partially involved in it,
Yeah.
right? Like going down and doing negotiations and being in court, but I learned a lot more. That's why I appreciate the perspective, and it was eye-opening to hear how tough it is in Boise, and that's what I would have guessed. That's a little frustrating, but we're extremely blessed. The people that listen to us and follow us and come down here, and some of our clients, the majority of them understand what it takes to keep the republic. Mm-hmm. They want to stay involved, even though they want their acreage and away from everybody. They still pay attention to local politics, right?
It's important. I had quite a few people reach out yesterday and be like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I voted," and I was like, "Cool, good,
That's great.
That's huge. That's what we're pushing. I mean, that's how we can affect change. It's about the only way we can affect change with our pocketbooks, our feet, what stores we visit, and voting."
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and I think a simple thing that if people don't do anything, everyone's upset about property tax. None of us want to pay property tax. understand what you're paying. Look at that sheet you get in the mail on your homeowner's insurance and look at all the people you're paying and ask yourself, do you want all those services? Because if you do, that's what you're paying for. Libraries and recreation districts and whatever the other districts are, that's where your property taxes come in. So understand that that's local spending, not your state spending. That's what I mean by understanding the process, or understanding the problem. Because I get calls all the time like, my property taxes are so high. Yeah, I get it. Mine are too. What are you paying for? What taxing districts do you have? I don't know. Well, what does your sheet say? So you have to do a little bit more than complain.
Right.
Yes, please do more than complain.
A little bit more.
I like the way you said that. I put my citizens to work. Like, it reminds me of the PD. Don't come to me with a problem without having an understanding and a potential solution.
Yes.
Hey, here's the issue, because it's really easy to complain, right? We used to say, like, I'll change it up here. A complaining cop was a happy cop, right? It's not how the phrase goes. But if you're going to bring something up, then have some sort of a solution,
right?
Some sort of an idea on how to remedy that particular issue. So I feel that way as citizens too. And I feel it's an obligation, especially in a state like this where we are a sanctuary of sanity still.
Right.
So our problems, we're looking to proactively keep this state.
Yes.
So I think we have to continue on that
And
path.
we are doing good. I'll say this. I've been there 11 years. We had horrible Speaker of the House for the first 8 years. Then we got a good Speaker of the House for 2 years, but we had a pretty liberal body, the 2/3 and the 1/3 thing. Last year was the first year we had a conservative body. I would say it was pretty conservative. Not North Idaho conservative, but conservative for Idaho. I'm a co-chair of the Idaho Freedom Caucus. So it's a group of legislators that kind of we just kind of coordinate together to try to get good legislation passed. We got 62 bills passed last year.
Nice.
Now, we know that sounds like, oh, that's horrible, but I've got maybe 3 bills passed in 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So this is huge. I mean, this is our group, so it's not all my bills, but that being said, these are bills that actually help citizens. One of them with the courts was the anti-SLAPP bill, so people can't do frivolous lawsuits to kind of keep you quiet. We got all these bills that I'm talking about are Freedom Caucus bills. So the school choice bill was one of them. The health freedom bill. We made so many gains this year. It was a great session this year. And we have one more year with that same body before the next election.
So Idaho, which is already one of the freest states in the country, is even the needle's pushing to be more free.
This year and probably this coming 2026, we still have the same body. I don't know what will happen. Legislators are replaced every 2 years, so every other year. So it could change overnight. It can change every 2 years.
Okay.
So we'll see. But we've got probably one more year of a conservative body, and we can hopefully get some more bills passed that help the people. And people are like, I want less laws, and I get that. But you have to pass a bill to get rid of legislation. So to delete stuff, you have to pass a bill to delete it, if that makes sense.
Is it a harder review process to alter a statute?
It's the same.
Is it?
Yeah. It's probably hardest if you have like a whole new idea and like with this family stuff, this family court stuff and the magistrates, we'd love to just rewrite all of it and clean it all up because it's old code, it's been cobbled together. That's probably a hard lift because you've got to, it would be a whole section of code.
Multiple reviews, tons of attorneys.
So but Idaho's law is supposed to be written for regular citizens to read it. I mean, I always remind people that it's not hard to read. I'm not a great reader.
The drug statute sucks, but yeah.
Well, then, lawyers complicate it.
Right.
But we'll probably cobble together little fixes. That's probably more realistic. But it's the same. It's you just look at what it says, and then you change it to what you want it to say. And then you think like, okay, who's going to fight me on this? What unintended consequences could happen with this? And there's always unintended consequences. Like you can run a bill and think, who would be opposed to this? And you get up there and like everybody's opposed to it.
Well, that's the way it was from a cop's perspective on fentanyl trafficking.
Right.
But you provided a little bit more. I just wish they'd had other folks in there speaking. But
I will say something about the cops is, you know, they're kind of bullies down in Boise. They kind of bully you into, I'm a cop, so you'll do what we think you need. I feel like that as being part of Judiciary and Rules Committee.
is that when they're speaking to like?
They show up in their uniform, you know, they're up there, and, you know, if you don't care about the kids, you know, it's just it's almost intimidating, and it's
Lecturing?
Yeah, like, I'm a cop, so you better just listen to me. And that's not the best way to get legislation passed.
Valid.
It's better to explain, hey, this is what's going on. Like, when I voted against that fentanyl bill the first year, I voted against it the first time. The second time around, when I was more educated on it, I voted for it. That's what you want. You want a legislator that will defend it for you. I had a cop that's not from up here, but he's from somewhere in the state. He went around and said, Heather Scott is trying to legalize cocaine and meth in our state. I'm like, no, I'm not. But he was so mad that I had voted against this bill. How dare me?
I sent you an email the second go around.
Oh, is that part of that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you probably
I
didn't
probably
read it.
didn't read it. You didn't call me.
Yeah, no.
You got to call me.
No, but it wasn't like that at all. I think it was just.
But did you hear that I wanted to legalize meth and
No,
cocaine?
no. I emailed. I went through and looked at local representatives that voted against it.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I just want to provide a little context on what this looks like, and then lined out all the states that had a trafficking bill for it and why this one was similar and why we need it, and then some context on some stories like, hey, and I'm available for any phone calls. Here's what I do. Here's who I am. Like, I'd love to be able to talk about this portion if there's any questions.
Just call me.
Yeah. No,
Always
I got
call
it.
me.
No, I'm good now. I'm just looking out for the other ones in blue and green now. But that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then that kind of cops and there are a lot of cops. I mean, this state just like bad apples. There's
Yeah.
bad judges, there's bad cops.
Right.
So sorry to say, and so some of them are anti-gun. Some of them are really anti-gun. I know
Really?
that's hard to believe,
Yeah.
but they don't think you or me as a non-cop should have a gun. And
Wow.
I know, like, how could you think that? But there are some that think that, and so you see that.
Is it an open carry thing, or is it a mere possession?
They fought me on. I did open. I did. What was it? Have no permit or whatever. Yeah, they'll fight you on things like that. I mean, because they know better.
Yeah.
And they know it from their perspective, and sometimes.
I'm not sure they do. I'd love to have that conversation.
Okay.
That's
I'd
interesting.
love to have that conversation.
Yeah,
I'd
I
love
would
to.
too.
So, what state has the lowest crime rate in the country?
Idaho.
Idaho
Yeah.
does. Violent crime rate? Where do we rank? We're bottom 10. Curious. More guns per capita than most other states. Just curious.
There's one guy,
that
his
works.
wife was, he's in law enforcement stuff. His wife is with that Moms Demand Action. So you tell me.
Oh, so you just want to sleep on the couch. I get that.
I mean, she's lobbying.
Right. No, I'm all for open, candid debate. Thank you, Charlie Kirk. I'm all for open, candid debate. But what I did gather out of this, the change in the statute's not that difficult. So if we needed to replace that 10,000 for a resort town with, say, 100,000.
100.
But no, I'm just curious.
No, that's literally what you need to do.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what I want to change. Here's why I need to change it.
Well, just know we are pushing a few other legislators on that, just because
You want to change it from, what is it now?
So basically, each state or each city is allowed to designate themselves as a resort city, which would then allow them to charge, say, like a bed tax or a bed bill for hotels, stuff like that. But it was in the 80s, so they put a cap on a population of 10,000. There are some cities that were super smart about
100,000 or 10,000?
10,000. 10,000.
Okay.
So, like Sandpoint, they incorporated such a small area that they get to remain a resort town, but Coeur d'Alene did not, even though we're clearly a resort town. Like, the primary industry here still
Boise wants its thumb on you.
Yes.
Well, that's just it. But
That's exactly what it is.
that's exactly what I said in the last one.
Yes.
Why is it that Boise gets to dictate what Coeur d'Alene does as a city? Because now we're capped out, right? And there's still expenses for fire and police and
know.
infrastructure. So why is it that that city doesn't get to make an informed decision on what happens within their city? That to me seems like a statute that's antiquated. Our population's not what it was anywhere in the country 45 years ago, let alone North Idaho.
And this
Allow
all
them
comes
to-
down to liquor laws, I think, because the liquor laws are tied to the resort cities, right?
Right.
Oh.
And so
I didn't know that.
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not positive, but
Yeah.
because Idaho has like really strict liquor
Yeah.
getting a liquor license, and there's like this big fight. Like there's some grandfathered in, and they don't give new ones. So then they decided to make these resort cities so they could give extra alcohol permits to these resorts. I think there's some history,
Right.
and that we can figure out what the history of is, why this came into being, and maybe what it's turned into.
Yeah. I just love the idea of each city having its own independent freedom to make their own decision. Because if they raise a bed tax, then it's potentially a few less people visiting the city, but that's up to the city.
Right.
If that risk is worth it for them.
And you live in city limits?
No.
And you don't
No.
know that? Okay.
No, I don't.
But we work there and we spend a lot of time there.
We're a budding business within those city limits. Now, well, and like I said, I've been a part of a lot of the budgetary meetings, and I've done negotiations with the city, and it always comes down to money. Of course, there's a finite amount, and there will be even if you're a designated resort town. But it does seem like a creative avenue that the city would have at their disposal in order to generate some additional revenue. And in fairness, the population changes significantly in the summer, and that is a burden on all of our infrastructure, to include
Yep.
fire and law.
Just
So-
like Sandpoint, same
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
And they're probably under the cap, or I don't
Yeah, they incorporated a small enough part. This is my understanding. They incorporated it in a small enough part of the city
Yeah.
that they're still under that cap.
Got it.
Which is kind of funny, but they just held a lab.
Yeah,
for
we
fun.
probably need to look at the laws in cities.
Yeah.
When we have defiant mayors that we tell them you can only fly certain flags and not other flags, and they
Right.
defy
Yeah.
that. That was my bill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's kind of ticked me off.
yeah. Yeah. I get
So,
that.
She's fired a shot over your bow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we probably need to look at our cities a
Yeah.
little bit more. You know, when we say something and they're like, well, we're going to make it a sanctuary for that. We say no abortions. Oh, we're going to make it a sanctuary for abortions or stuff like that.
Yeah.
They probably need to be reined in a little bit. But
Right.
But they can raise taxes on their people. Maybe people will leave.
But they do. They absolutely do. Yeah, I think the other part of that is there probably should be a like an academy for elected officials so they could actually learn what they do.
Oh, that's funny you say that, because there is an academy for, like, there's something, I think it was last week, they do a training for all the legislators
Right.
and county commissioners and
Oh.
city count. They kind of do things like that.
Really?
That's a whole nother, we can go into this, but there's, you know what the Idaho Association of Sheriffs is, right?
Yep.
Okay, so there's also the Idaho Association of Counties, the Idaho Association of Cities, Idaho Association of County Clerks,
Oh.
Idaho Association of Coroners. You're paying for all that.
Oh, wow.
You're paying for membership into a private group. Your taxpayers are paying for that.
Curious. I would say
I could go down this rabbit trail.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've got lots of rabbit trails like
Yeah,
that.
I believe that. 100%.
we may have to have you come back for that one. We're pushing time, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
You
And
figure-
where you think, well, it's good,
fire a lot of people
sheriffs.
up.
You know, you want to be part of the Association of Sheriffs so they can coordinate. Counties do the same thing.
Yeah.
Cities do the same thing. Coroners do the same thing.
Right.
Wow.
And we're paying, as an individual, we're paying for all of it.
Under what fund?
Each one of it's coming out of their budget, right?
Yeah.
So
they
it's
put
coming out of the sheriff's budget. It's coming out of the county clerk's budget. It's coming out of your counties, your city's
like
budget.
their general fund or something.
Yeah, and I think
or
it's
training.
I think the counties are like maybe $30,000 a year,
Yeah.
which doesn't seem like a lot. But then when you find out that the people in charge of that are lobbyists out of Boise,
Right.
and maybe they're not pushing the same thing that North Idaho, that's paying to be a member of this group, because they're
Yeah.
outnumbered.
Unintentionally, that
Yeah.
money's going towards something
There's a
else.
lot.
Yeah. I'm tracking.
I thought
Yeah.
I thought we were going to end on a positive.
Oh,
note.
sorry,
I'm
sorry,
not
sorry.
getting
Fire
into
me up
politics.
again.
I'm not getting into
Oh,
politics.
it's still deer season. That's a
Yeah.
positive.
Yes,
There we
yes,
go. There we go.
absolutely. What I took out of that is Idaho's still doing well.
Yes.
We just need to maintain the course
Stay
of preventative
engaged.
maintenance. North
we
Idaho
need
is awesome.
good people to step up and get involved.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Just run for office. Just.
She's looking at you, Seth.
He's the obvious
I
answer
mean, like
here.
Library boards.
There
Like
you
you
go.
think,
There's
like,
one I can do.
I have
who
to, I
wants
have to
be on
read
that?
books.
Hey, all you got to do is go in and pull out all the smut.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah,
be
yeah.
easy, right?
Yeah, it's true.
But those, 3 out of 5 people make a decision on what your children are going to see.
Right.
Be one of those 3.
right.
You need the majority in all these little groups.
My kids don't go to the library. Let's be real. I try.
But all the other kids are getting indoctrinated with it, right?
Yes, that's true. Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, let's be positive.
Yeah, no,
We're in
truly.
good shape.
So you're
We're in
going to
good
run
shape.
for office then?
We're getting no.
I have too
No,
many
we're too busy.
skeletons in my
Yeah,
closet.
yeah, right.
Well, everyone just keep doing what you're doing.
Maybe
Yeah.
when, we're gonna keep being a conduit of information, and maybe someday when we, scale back how busy we are,
When your kids are grown. and-
yes, then it might be
Yeah.
an opportunity there for something like that, and maybe I'll actually understand what goes on in the government by that point.
I've
So
been learning a
I'll
lot.
be an informed,
Having somebody like you on is informative for what
It
that
is.
process
Yeah.
actually looks like.
It's not that hard, trust me. Like I said, when I started, I thought everyone went to Washington, D.C. for government. That's where I was. So
When do I go to Washington?
I mean, that's where I was.
If somebody would have told you you had
So-
to rent an apartment for 3 months and buy a whole new
Yeah.
freaking wardrobe, you might have been out. Might have bowed out.
Maybe, but it's worth it to protect what we have up here. We have
Yeah.
a beautiful spot. We have a lot of great people moving here.
That's true.
And they know how bad it can get.
Yes.
So we have to all stay engaged to not let it get as bad as everywhere you came from.
In a lot of ways, they're like more contributing members of because they know.
They know.
And
Oh,
they
yeah.
stay plugged in because they often reach out and you buy a house up here. They get involved with the community. We stay in touch and they're like, hey, what do you think about this? And it's like, I don't want to give you, like, if you want Eric's opinion, okay, but here's where you can find your information, right? Here's what's coming from the guys and girls on the street.
and they are for damn sure voting.
Yes.
Well,
I
yeah, I
guarantee
would
that.
say, if anything, don't be shy to say you're from that C state.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, don't be shy. That's you just don't let people intimidate you. You know what you left and you know what you're not going to let this place become.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you
And-
know your values, and,
Yeah,
and if
so
your values
that's-
align,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
just
then you're
stand
fine.
firm.
Exactly. And in your own
Don't-
mind, you're running to something, not from something.
Yeah.
You ran to Idaho to be an active member in our communities here.
Right. Just get your license plates changed right
Yeah,
away.
yeah, that's valid. I think that's right.
Good advice.
That's good. Sound.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Heather. It's very informative.
conversation.
Thank you,
Nice
guys.
to know you're out there. I'm glad you
Yeah.
have a passion for this, and I think we'll have you back because we got a lot to talk about in the future.
Yeah, we'll stay up on the judicial watch on our
Yep.
side.
All
Yep.
right. Sounds good.
All right. Catch you next
Thanks.
time.